Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice and it's by user ThrowEmAwee. Just found out my husband invited another woman over to spend the night while I'm away on business. How to proceed? I, 24 female, leave on a flight in 3 hours for a 5-day business trip. My husband, 28 male, is currently sleeping and I'm finishing packing. A text message popped up on his phone saying, "Yeah, I'd love to spend the night. That'll make things so much easier." It was from a friend, 18 female, of his with whom we've had disagreements before, mostly because he doesn't feel the need to tell me anything about her when they hang out, etc., which he does on his own for all of his male friends. He has a number of female friends and I really don't mind. They're good people and there seem to be some boundaries in place. Not with this girl though. Texts from her frequently pop up throughout the day and as late as 1 and 2 in the morning. I'll admit it, curiosity got the better of me and I read their previous few messages. He invited her over to go on a day trip with him to his favorite place to smoke weed. It's her first time. He then invited her to stay the night before so they could get an early start the next day. The thing is, as we're going to bed last night, I asked him what his plans were while I was gone. He usually makes an effort to do something fun for himself and to get one big honeydew item taken care of. When we were talking about my trip last night, he was very detailed in his plans, down to what he'll be doing each day, which was unusual. But he made no mention of this girl and made it sound as though he was making the drive alone. When I suggested he hang out with one of his friends, he said, "I don't know, I think I could use a quiet weekend in." I'm freaking out a bit. We have been having some trouble and I saw in their messages that he's been talking to her about it a lot. I need to have a friend to talk to, but he's always telling me he doesn't want his friends to think poorly of me. Yet, from their messages, she obviously does. Reddit, what do I do? How do I handle this? Wow, OP, this absolutely sucks. In so few words, they were so many what the F moments. Starting with, how does a 28-year-old have a friendship with an 18-year-old, invite her over to sleep because he's taking her to smoke weed for her first time? That part is just ridiculously wrong. And then he talks to her about you? Like, why would he do that? If he needs to talk to somebody about problems he's having with you, he should address them with you, not with other people. At least that's my opinion. I don't like it when people go outside their relationship to talk badly or share their problems like that, unless it's in couples counseling or something like that. Again, that's just me. And another what the F moment is that he absolutely hid her from you. He gave you details about what he was gonna do, but deliberately left her out. So how do you handle it? The way I would is wake him up, give him his phone and say, "What the F, man?" and see how he reacts or what he says. Now, there is one thing though that could play against you, is that considering this whole thing is creepy and weird and it's a lie and all of that bad stuff, there is no mention of them doing anything sexual, which could be his only thread to pull on to gaslight you into thinking that you're being controlling or jealous or something like that. So maybe don't tell him that you know the whole plan or the whole truth and just see where his lie catches itself. Then I'd say you've got two choices, either couples counseling to try to fix this mess or just get a lawyer. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Bigot on H says, "Wake his ass up and have a confrontation. You can't let him lie to you like that, even if he doesn't plan on cheating on you with her. This sets dangerous standards. If you ever want to be told the truth again, I would definitely be talking to him about it before you leave." And OP responds, "The problem is, he feels like I don't have a right to snoop," which I agree to an extent. If I'd gone looking, that's on me. But where it just popped up and was obviously incriminating, I don't know. I guess I feel justified, but he won't see it that way and it'll be my fault. Luche says, "You either confront him now, which may not be the best idea as you don't know what's what, but you may not want to due to being emotional right now. So you could leave a note, or anything you'll be able to tell has been moved, under the duvet of the spare room. When you come home and confront him, he will say you slept in the spare room and you'll be able to prove otherwise, or when she's there, they will see the note and they will stew until you're back. The point isn't how you know she's coming over, and honestly, you don't even need to mention how you know, simply that you know. The problem is the communication and the lies and manipulation, and the gaslighting, which is something it sounds like you've been struggling with for ages. And Opie responds, I just cried reading the end of your comment. I've been struggling for ages. I feel like I'm the crazy, manipulative, controlling one because that's what he tells me. Even though I know that's not who I am, I feel like I don't know which way is up anymore. I like the note idea. Unfortunately, our bedroom is used as our office and the other bedroom is a staging area while we pack up our stuff to move. So it's either our bed, which he mentioned, or the couch. And New Nonsense says, your relationship is very bizarre. It's not normal for your husband to have all these female friends, especially one that is 18 years old. He's 10 years older. That's what I said. That's a big difference, especially with her being so young and immature. You need to have a conversation about what acceptable boundaries you want in your relationship. Him lying to you about this weekend is a huge red flag. It is not normal for a husband to have a woman friend sleep over when his wife is not home. Eventually, what's going to happen is he's going to sleep with this woman if he hasn't already. You played too close to the flame and eventually you're gonna get burnt. Opie's edit. I should mention that he's had a history of hiding behavior with women from me. The thing is, I'm really easygoing and whenever he tells me so-and-so is coming over, I'm the one who brings home snacks for them. Yes, he's also lied about talking with a female co-worker about sex very late at night and sharing a bed with someone he used to hook up with, to name a few. I feel so stupid. Opie's edit 2. Any advice for bringing this up? Part of me wants to confront him before I go. We had a really great, I thought, conversation last night where we decided to take this time apart to figure out what our marriage needs and what each of us needs individually so we can make things work. Apparently, he needs her. The other half of me wants to wait until I know she's there and then ask him what's up. I'm not really sure what to do. I've never been in this position before. Alright, well, the community gave OP different angles about what to do. Confront him right now, or, set up some kind of a trap, and just, this is ridiculous. And apparently OP wants to confront him, but she didn't get any advice on how to do it. However, she has given us 2 updates, and one really long one with a lot of details that gives us more on the story. So let's move on with that to see how this story continues. But before that, of course, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's move on with a really thorough update. First off, I just want to thank everyone for being patient with me while I sort this crap out. As I mentioned in my previous post, I left on a business trip and had actual work to do. Now, there is a lot of backstory that's necessary to truly understand the state of our union, so rather than post multiple updates, I've broken it up into sections. This will be long, so get some popcorn. Now, let's begin with the confrontation. It was 1:30 a.m. when I posted, and I'd gotten a whooping 3 hours of sleep. Needless to say, I was not in the best headspace. Someone gave the advice to tell him, I'm hurt and disappointed, I'm leaving, you need to fix this. Someone else said to tell him that it doesn't matter how I found out, what matters is what happened. Thank you for that too. Both these comments really stuck with me, and I lay in bed waiting for him to wake up, typing out how I would respond to whatever direction our conversation took. While I was waiting for him to wake up, I did something I'm not very proud of. When I knew he'd lied to me and I wanted to have proof of the things he told me about her moving forward, especially where I'd be gone, and she was supposed to be spending the night, I set up his messages to come to my iPad. I know all his passwords, so I deleted the email alerts and just added his phone number. I'm not proud of it, but I didn't have cameras at home and needed to know whether he was telling me the truth while I was gone. Anyway, he woke up and I decided to give him one last chance. As I was gathering my things, I asked him what he planned while I was gone. He gave a very detailed report of his daily plans, casually leaving out anything about this girl staying the night or going to Colorado with him. I was so livid because just the night before we'd gotten into a pretty big fight where he said, "And you don't trust me. I've done nothing to deserve it, but you still treat me like I'm sneaking around." That hurt because we've been going to therapy and I thought I'd been doing really well at giving him the benefit of the doubt. I used to check his phone because of the earlier problems we'd had, but haven't done that in months. It made me feel crazy and ashamed at the same time, and now here I was, standing in our bedroom, watching my husband lie to me through his teeth. I said, "I know you're lying to me. I know you're not going to Colorado alone, and I know you've invited an effing 18-year-old to spend the night in my bed." And then I just waited. The silence was heavy. He took a deep breath and said he had 2 questions. 1, how did I know? It doesn't matter, I know. And 2, did I know during our conversation last night? Now, we've been having a lot of problems lately. The night before, we had a very heartfelt emotional talk in which I told him I wanted him to be happy. I could tell that he wasn't, and I thought he should go home, several thousand miles away, for a few months to figure himself out. I told him that if we ended up staying together or divorcing, I would always love him and he would always be my family. We've been through some crap both together and separately, and we were both sobbing by the end of it. But here's the kicker. I told him that if he needed another woman to make him happy, I would let him go and support him as a friend. Anyway, I was probably pretty harsh in my response and said, "No, I didn't know during our conversation last night, and now I feel like an idiot, like my husband has been effing a teenager and I just gave him my blessing." He tried to get defensive and said, "It's not like that." I got really quiet and said, "You're a very smart man, but if you can't see that girl wants to get in your pants, you're an effing idiot." I continued with, "She texts you about her taking bubble bath and you effing tell her about all our problems." Her, when you won't even talk about me with most of your friends. You're telling an 18-year-old about all of our problems. He said he would cancel his plans with her, and I said, "I'm not making that decision, you are. I honestly don't know how you can fix this. I don't care if you go with her at this point, but I'm leaving and I'm hurt and disappointed, and you need to figure out where your priorities are because right now, your priority isn't your wife, it's your 18-year-old crush." He kept saying he should have told me, but that he didn't want me to make him feel guilty for wanting to hang out with his friend, and that I should have known that nothing would happen. I asked him if he loved her, and his gut response was, "No, of course not. That's not at all what I'm looking for." He said that most of the time, he doesn't even like talking to her every day because she's so immature. I told him he was an idiot if he thought she didn't have feelings for him. He's an idiot regardless of that. He tried to push back, but I told him, I was 18 once, and I liked someone who was 28. We went on a date, but when he found out I was 18, he told me he couldn't see me anymore. I said it was fine and that we could just be friends, but I still tried my hardest to get him to fall for me. He was silent after that for a long time. That was it. He drove me to the airport. He cried a lot and apologized a lot. I felt a lot of nothing. Heartbreak, maybe? But there's been so much turmoil in our relationship that I just didn't care anymore. Now, let's continue with the fallout. So, we left things the way we'd planned to leave them during the heartfelt conversation the night before. We both planned to take the 5 days I was gone to do some soul searching and figure out what and where we need to be happy. Then, when I got home, we'd talk it over and we'd make a plan. Well, when my plane landed at my destination, I got a text from my husband saying that he would be moved out of our house by the time I got back and that he was going home to the East Coast. He said he was sorry to leave me to manage our upcoming move on my own and that he knew I would be better off this way. He said he was taking the car so he could drive back, but that he'd leave me all of the money in our bank accounts except what he needed for gas. He said he was sorry for keeping the information about his friend from me, but that our conversation last night had meant so much to him and had been such a high point of our relationship that to wake up and be accused of cheating was a low point that he could not turn back from. He said he didn't know how to make me believe that his intentions were nothing other than company on the drive with his friend, but that it didn't matter and he would leave me alone. I've never felt that angry, hurt, or desperate before. I was coordinating the travel of more than a dozen other people who were on the flight with me, and it felt like all the wind had been knocked out of me. I wanted to sob and scream, but I couldn't because I was surrounded by people I was supposed to be responsible for. I tried my hardest to gain my composure, but a few tears slipped out, and I just focused on my breathing. If I'm being honest, I'm not proud of my response. I basically begged him to stay. I'd left feeling like if he needed to leave and we didn't stay together, it would be okay. But knowing that I would be returning to an empty house, not getting to say goodbye, and that he was ending things over a text after 4 years together was just too much for me. I sounded like a child. I said I needed him, that he was making a stupid mistake, that I deserved more than ending our marriage over text, all the cliches. It was bad, but he was determined to leave and I had to get over a dozen people to our final destination, so I couldn't keep messaging him. About an hour later, I got a text that he would at least be staying until I got back because of our dogs. Nobody could watch them, so he'd stay until I was home and then he'd go. We planned on having a phone call that night to talk over the specifics, but it never happened. I was too busy and physically and emotionally exhausted. Now, I know from his texts coming to my iPad, but also from him telling me that he cancelled with the girl. I know that he also invited her over, which was partly my doing. With the texts I was getting, I didn't want him to be alone, regardless of if he effed her. Then, there would be no question. I know that he called his best friend and talked to him about everything for an hour and a half, which was very good. He is a phenomenal human being and has great marriage advice. My husband seemed more level-headed after that call. He said he would take the rest of the week to think things through like we planned. We didn't talk much. He texted me every day and I sometimes responded. The week went by quickly and I realized I didn't want to go home. I'm not sure if that's because of all the drama and chaos that was waiting there or if it's because I no longer want to be married to my husband. I don't know a lot of things anymore and I'm trying to take each day one at a time. I had a small panic attack as he was about to pick me up. I've had worse, but I sat outside the passenger pickup trying to breathe oxygen that wasn't there and wiped tears from my eyes. Maybe it was the anticipation of not knowing what would happen or where we'd stand. I don't know. But when he hugged me, he got all emotional that I was home. And I just felt so far away. You know how when you hug someone intimately, it feels like your souls are hugging? It felt nothing like that, which was new. It felt like hugging a stranger. So yeah, now I'm home. My flight was delayed, so we both just crashed into bed as soon as we got back. I was asleep when he left for work, so we haven't talked about anything, but I'm expecting we will tonight, and I'll post an update then. I don't even know what I want to do yet. Part of me is ready to leave, to be done, to move on with my life. I'd want to take a good chunk of time and work on myself, but then I'd want to find someone who is transparent with me and who understands and accepts the many parts of me that may be inconvenient but are still me. Part of me wants to give him one more chance. No, one more opportunity to get his anger under control, communicate well, and make things work. Since I left, he's been much better about following a routine and he hasn't texted the girl at all. He did say that she IM'd him at work and that they talked there for a bit. I appreciated the honesty, but not knowing what they talked about made me nervous. If we do stay together, there's a lot of work that will need to be done. It'll take a lot of time and patience, and I don't know if he's willing to give it. OP's short update to the update. Okay, I've heard everyone loud and clear. I just spent 6 hours in bed reading responses and bawling my eyes out. You're right, every single one of you. I need to be stronger. I just got off the phone with my mom and she said almost verbatim some of the same things you guys did. We made an exit plan both for worst case and best case scenarios, and I'll be talking to him tonight when he gets home. In the meantime, I'm going to get coffee with my friend and try to calm down a bit. I've been putting myself second for so long that I deserve a bit of self-care. Alright, well, OP gave us a very thorough and emotional update, so we are absolutely caught up with the story, and apparently on that update to the update, OP is ready to let go and move on with her life. So let's continue with the final update to see how the story ends. Thank you to everyone who has commented on my last 2 posts. I'm still working through all the comments, but the advice, stories, and love you've shared have been overwhelming and absolutely needed. Thank you. Even the people calling me names and calling me out for not being stronger, thank you. It hurt to come to the realization that we can't move forward from this. He's betrayed my trust so many times that I'd need him to verify pretty much anything for a while, and that's no way for either of us to live. The fact of the matter is that we're both pretty broken and have no business being in a relationship with each other or anyone else right now. I truly don't believe he's a terrible person, but he has been a terrible partner. As many of you said, he can be a good person and not be good for me. Now, last night I chickened out. I was so scared of losing him forever that I said we should just take a break, have him fly home and work on ourselves for a bit. There were a lot of tears, but when the conversation was over, I didn't feel better, just stuck. This morning, I realized what I'd done. I did this the last time I tried to get out of an abusive relationship and put up safeguards so I could feel comfortable leaving. My husband doesn't deserve to be led on, and I don't deserve to be unable to move on. I read through more of your messages, and I can't thank you all enough for your words of comfort, encouragement, and strength. The thing is, for you, it's black and white. For me, my thoughts are so thoroughly clouded by emotions and history, and I have to let that all go. The best thing I can do for both of us is to give up. So this morning, I did. I told him that while we could take a break and try again, it would never work. I can never truly trust him again, and he wants me to change things about myself that are things I love and have no desire to change. We've been trying so hard for so long to make things work that we're just too far gone. There were lots of tears, but he took it well. He's agreed to a no-contest divorce, and we'll spend the next few days packing up our house before the lease is up at the end of the month. Some of you may come at me with pitchforks for not screwing him over or breaking up last night or leaving him to deal with the house alone, but that's okay. I'll be staying at my friend's house until my new apartment is ready, and I'm really focusing on just working on myself. I won't help him pack unless I have someone with me. Much of the stuff is mine anyway, and I'd rather not leave it behind. You guys are all right that my self-confidence has taken a nosedive lately. I have a lot of healing to do before I'm ready to consider love again, and I have 2 appointments scheduled with my therapist this week. This man is not a monster in my book. He's a little boy that needs to grow up. We both made our fair share of mistakes in this relationship, but rather than feeling sorry for myself, I'm choosing to take those lessons and move on. I'm the kind of person who is very good at bouncing back. It's just the getting out that's hard. Thank you all for your help in that. I wish him all the best and simply have no desire to harbor hate in my heart. Now, because I know how easy it is to be manipulated and go right back, I've talked a lot with my family and close friends over the last 48 hours. I previously didn't share a lot of what was happening with them because I was embarrassed. Everyone always said we were the perfect couple, and I was so ashamed at all the problems we had. I've informed these people that they are not to let me go back should it come to that, in no uncertain terms. I don't think I'll get to that point, but I just want to be sure. Well, OP, I can't say it's a happy update because you are not happy and you still need a lot of work to do to get there. However, it is a positive update. You're done with this relationship, you new house, new everything, and you're gonna move on. So here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Thank you for sharing and take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.